Welcome back to week 4 of the Birth Wisdom Yoga Prenatal series. I am so excited this week to share with you Birth Wisdom 4, which is surrender. And it's a birth wisdom that I received when I was mothering 3 young children and found that I was getting caught up sometimes in sort of trying to make everything look perfect in my home and with my children, and realizing that I was losing the authentic space and time with my family. So as I began to surrender and slow down, I was really able to receive the pearls of each moment and each day with my children. So that story is called Remember the Cheerio, and it's in my book, Birth Wisdom Yoga, Remedies, and Journal. You can find it there for inspiration in your mothering journey. And so for today, we're going to explore for you surrendering into what is during your pregnancy, and for you to also take that into your birth and your mothering journey. We're going to begin in meditation, so I will see you there. So we're going to begin today in meditation, and for class today, you're going to need 2 blocks if you have them. You could even use pillows for support or bolsters if you have some small bolsters. And also a yoga strap or a band will work just fine for some of the yin poses we're going to practice together. So let's come all the way down onto your mat. And remember, in meditation, we come onto your left or right side. And then you can place a blanket or pillow between your knees, even between your ankles if you feel like your sciatica might be flaring up a bit. That'll give you a little more stability and support. And then come all the way down and go ahead and allow your eyes to shut down. And just begin to come into your breath here. Allowing your inhale to gently lengthen and soften, and your exhale to come all the way down around your baby and out your toes. Just finding your rhythm with the breath today. Softening your jaw. And just allowing the edges of your body to soften and melt away. And allow the breath to take you deeper and deeper into your body. And if you notice thoughts in your mind that are busy, just say thank you to those thoughts. And allow them to float back out to the universe with your exhale again and again. And just begin to picture one thing that you can surrender to that's happening in your pregnancy right now. It might be something that you are thinking about or maybe worrying about. It might be something physical that is bothering you worrisome. And let's just see if you can explore what it feels like to surrender and allow whatever it is to be just what it is in this moment. And just exhaling and releasing however you're holding on to that or how you wanted to change it. And just let yourself breathe here, knowing that whatever you need, you will always have the unlimited help and guidance and support at the perfect time. So just allow everything here and surrender into your breath. And taking a deep inhale, and open up, sigh out your exhale completely. And let's take 3 more cleansing breaths, long and slow. And then slowly begin to open your eyes. We're going to move to hands and knees, just taking your time. And go ahead and place a blanket, if you have one, right in the center of your mat. It'll just make it more comfortable when you're on hands and knees today as we practice. And we're going to begin by just coming forward, sitting down in a nice comfortable seated position. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and take some easy stretches, placing your right hand down on your mat. Inhale, reach up, take the hand over to the right. You can soften this right elbow and breathe. And then we'll take it to the other side. So pressing down, reaching up, and take it over to the left and breathe here. And then we'll come back to center. We'll just take some shoulder shrugs, just opening up, softening the shoulders. We can take them backwards. You can also take them forwards. Just see how that feels for you. So you're continuing to breathe slowly and gently, continuing to keep your jaw nice and soft. And if it feels good to you, you can go ahead and roll the head, soften your neck. So remembering that Ina May Gaskin, who is one of my favorite midwives, says that when you have a nice soft jaw in labor, you also have a nice soft open cervix. So we're going to continue practicing, noticing if you're tightening that jaw, and we're going to go ahead and keep it nice and soft so you can take that with you to your labor. Let's go ahead and come on down to hands and knees now. And we're setting up for a modification for Sphinx pose, which is great for getting into your lower back and also the middle of your spine if you're having soreness there. So your knees are about hip width apart. You're walking the hands forward towards the top of your mat, on your mat, and then bring your forearms down, and you're pressing nice and firm into your mat. Allow the knees to come back just a couple of inches. And now as you press into your hands, allow the hips to reach back as your baby comes down towards your mat, and you're going to allow your head to come down. So the more that you press into the hands and reach back with the hips, you can create traction and a wonderful stretch in the spine here. Returning to your breath long and slow. And then slowly coming back to hands and knees. And placing your hands just forward, not right underneath your shoulders, because it's normal for your hands to feel tight when you're pregnant. You have more fluid in your body. So walk them forward where they feel good. The fingers are nice and wide. And now we're setting up for thread the needle. So go ahead and press the left hand down towards the center of your mat. Inhale the right hand up. And with your breath, take that right hand under the left elbow and drop your cheek down. And coming into the breath completely. And remember, if that feels too deep, you can also bring the forearm right in front of you and bring your head here. You're still getting the benefit of the pose. And then we'll come all the way back to center, hands and knees. And then we're going to set up for the other side. So press the right hand down. Fingers are nice and wide. Inhale, reach up with the left. And then we're going to take that hand all the way over. So if you want to take this deeper, the right hand can come forward. And if you want a little bit less, you can also bring that right forearm in front of your head and rest right here. That's going to be up to you to really listen and feel what's good for you. And then take that knowing into your labor, really feeling and moving where you need to move. And just gently come back to hands and knees. And now we're setting up for one of my favorite modifications. It's for camel pose. So you're going to come into hero's pose with your knees nice and wide, always creating space for your baby. And we're modifying camel pose because we want to make sure we don't push through the abs too far when you're pregnant, which would create a diastasis recti, which is those abdominal muscles actually separating. And postpartum, it can be really hard to heal if it goes too far when you're pregnant. So we're going to go ahead and take the fingers facing forward, press your hands down onto your mat. So you could stay right here. I can feel the stretch here in my shoulders. If you want to take a little bit deeper stretch in the spine, you can take the hips up to the sky. Either tuck your chin or drop your head back. And breathe here. And if that feels like it's a little tight on your knees, go ahead and come into an easy seated position. And from here, the hands will come back and you can stretch the spine, the shoulders, the chest, either tucking the chin or go ahead and take that head back here. And remember, you want to continue to modify camel pose. But when your baby's 3 or 4 months, postpartum, still then, we want to allow those abdominal muscles to mesh back perfectly so that you can feel nice and strong like yourself again postpartum. So let's go ahead and release. Coming back to hands and knees. And we're just going to find some of those wonderful pelvic circles to create some space in the pelvis and loosen up your lower back even more. So walk the hands forward. Take the knees nice and wide, creating space again for baby. And we're going to go ahead and just take the circles forward, back. It's like you're drawing a figure 8 with your hips. And you might notice that it feels tight on one side more than the other. And that's pretty normal for women. And it sometimes can mean even the pelvic floor muscles are tight on that side. So this type of pose can really help bring some balance and release those muscles. And it's just great for any stage of labor. It helps baby float off of your back and it creates space in the pelvis. So definitely take this one with you to labor and childbirth. And still breathing nice and long and slow. And let's come back to center. We're going to come to hands and knees and press the right foot back. Pressing into the ball of your foot, pressing your heel back towards the back of your mat. And coming into the breath here, so you can stay right here. You can come onto your right fist if your wrists are getting a little tight or sore. If you want a little more, take that left hand forward and stretch from your left fingertips all the way through the right heel and breathe. So this is a great stretch for lengthening the lower back, but also creating some strength there as well. And we'll go ahead and come on down. And from here, we're coming into a side stretch. So press into the left hand. Allow your right foot to press down onto your mat. Your left knee might come forward just a little bit. Reach up to the sky and breathe here. And then we'll come on down. And let's see how it feels on the other side for that bilateral stretch. You can come onto your fist if you need to. Press back with the left foot. Press through the heel. You're taking the crown of the head forward. And if you want a little more, you can take the right hand forward as well and breathe. Just breathe into that opening in the spine that feels so good. And then we'll go ahead and press down with the right hand. Slide your left foot onto your mat and just adjust the right knee where it feels good and take the right or the left hand up to the sky and breathe. And then we'll come all the way down. And setting up for downward facing dog, your fingers are nice and wide on your mat. You're curling the toes and taking the hips up to the sky and breathe. You can take the feet as wide as you like. And we'll take about 3 breaths here. We don't usually hold downward dog any longer than that when we're pregnant, just to ensure if you have low blood pressure or maybe low blood sugar that we don't create any dizziness here. And then bending the knees a lot. We are slowly walking the hands back to the feet to stand. And then we're coming into mountain pose, just to stretch out the spine. So first find your heels, pressing down. And let's just check and make sure you have a nice neutral pelvis. So remember in our classes we've talked about making sure you're not tucking the pelvis under you. We want to go ahead and take the hands on our hips and just make sure your sit bones are on top of your heels. And we're creating a nice neutral pelvis, which is really important for the pelvic floor. And we will go ahead and really get into that in my pelvic floor foundation series, which is coming up soon here. So let's go ahead and press into the heels. Inhale, reach up. And take that left wrist up and over to the right. And then inhale back to center. We're just opening up with the breath. And take the right hand over to the left. And then coming back to center. And we're going to go ahead and take the feet really wide. Soften the knees a lot and fold forward. And this is just a gentle transition. With your inhale, we'll come to a halfway lift. And then all the way back down to your mat. All the way down to hands and knees. And then from there, we're going to come into a seated straddle. And go ahead and make sure your sit bones are behind you. Go ahead and take one of your blocks forward. And make sure you have your strap close by too. So from here, if you're feeling a lot of tension and tightness, just go ahead and bring your feet in a little closer. So when we're in yin poses, it's really going to be beneficial if you allow yourself to take it a little bit lighter so the muscles can relax. If the muscles are really gripping because you might be pushing a little too far, there's not as much benefit for the muscles to release. So from here, you can have your block low. You can take it high, just bring the forearms here. So you decide what feels good. And we're going to go ahead and practice for what happens in between contractions and soften your entire body. So go ahead and allow the eyes to shut down. And come into the breath here. And so in between contractions, you have a wonderful resting period. And of course, that resting period gets shorter as you get closer to having your baby, but you'll spend a lot of time with resting periods in between those wonderful waves that are creating space for your baby. And the more you can soften and relax your body, usually the faster you can open up with less pain. So let's just begin with the crown of the head and see if you can soften your entire body, just scanning slowly as you move through your body, noticing where there might be tension or resistance, taking the breath there to soften completely. And gently opening your eyes. Just setting your block aside. We're going to soften the right knee in and take that right foot towards the left inner thigh, just where it feels nice and easy for you. So you have a couple of options. You can take your left hand towards the left foot, reach up with the right hand and come over to the side. Notice if that feels good. You can also take your strap or even one of these really handy exercise bands and place that on your foot and get a little more of a stretch here on the left side. So you can come forward. If you need more room for your baby, it's really nice to take that hand up and over to the side and come into the breath here. So you'll notice we're holding these yin poses for about 5 breaths. And that's because of all the wonderful relaxin in your body. So when you're pregnant, we want to make sure we don't stretch too deep, because sometimes holding these poses longer, we might stretch too deep and create an injury before you even realize what's happened. So you want to hold yin poses maybe 5 breaths and then switch sides. So we're going to come on over now and release your strap or band. And still breathing nice and long and slow. Just taking that left foot in, adjust where it feels good, where it feels nice and easy here. Your right hand can come down towards the right foot. You can reach up with the left hand and over to the right. So you might decide to stay here, but you also have the option of taking your band or strap over to that right foot. And I know for some of you that's going to be like lassoing a horse with your baby right there. And that's okay. If you can't use the strap, you don't have to. It's really going to be what feels good for you, which is going to give you the benefit of the pose. So come into the breath here. Nice and slow. We're still softening the jaw. And then we'll gently go ahead and release this side. And we're coming into one of my favorite yin poses for pregnancy. We will use a blanket or pillows under your spine. So that's going to be really important because you will be on your back. And as long as we have blankets under your spine, we create a natural curve so you can lay in this pose for about 5 breaths. We don't want you flat on your back because of that vena cava artery that will get compressed over time as your baby gets heavier when you lay on your spine. So we're coming into Supta Baddha Konasana, and you want to go ahead and make sure you have 2 blocks or pillows and your blanket. And I'm going to go ahead and come forward. And first, just coming into a seated position, we want to place your blankets right towards your sacrum. And then we're going to go ahead and lay down and allow the feet to come together. And then placing your blocks for support or pillows just right on the side of your legs. So it's amazing when we start using bolsters and support how much easier these poses feel. And I think you'll find that you take that after your pregnancy into yoga classes. You'll have all kinds of blankets and bolsters going, which is just wonderful. So again, let's come into that softening, practicing for labor and childbirth. Maybe taking one hand on your baby and one on your heart. Allow the eyes to shut down. Settling into the breath and practicing for in-between contractions, that beautiful resting period, beginning with the crown of your head. Just notice and scan your body and soften wherever there's tension or resistance or holding on. Take the breath there. So this is such a powerful practice. I often tell the women in my classes that I've had mamas in labor and birth fall asleep practicing the softening in labor because they get into such a wonderful rhythm with the breath, the contractions, then the softening. So this rhythm really will become your lifeline in labor. So powerful. And now we're going to gently release your blocks. And then even your blanket, we're going to take that out so you can come on to your left or right side for Shavasana. And you're going to maybe put a blanket between the knees just because it feels good. And sometimes women will take a block, like I mentioned before, they'll put it right here if it's nice and soft. And that helps keep your sciatica from maybe getting a little irritated. So laying all the way down, coming back into that breath. Coming back into surrendering to this moment. Remembering as you lay in Shavasana that many yogis will say this is the most important pose of your practice, where your body really receives the breath and the energy of the poses. So I'm going to take a few more breaths here, staying down on your mat. Surrender. I am learning to surrender into each moment of this pregnancy, allowing my baby to lead the way just as I will in motherhood. I let go of all rigid ideas of our birth experience and I replace them with an open mind for the adventure of labor. I have intentions for our birthing experience and I recognize that surrendering to labor begins now. So just beginning to gently move your fingers, your toes to reawaken. Taking a deep inhale of love and gratitude and let that feeling wash over your entire body. Just remembering to send your body so much gratitude for all the good work it's doing, growing and sustaining your baby, for your health and your strength, and always for your wisdom and your intuition. So just gently, when you're ready, slowly find your way into a seated position with your hands eventually at heart center, allowing the eyes to shut down. I intend for you this week to continue practicing your breath, to surrender to what is in every moment of your life, knowing you can take the power of surrendering into labor, childbirth, and mothering. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I will be working on Birth Wisdom 5 for you for next week. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe and like the YouTube channel now. And also remember, I have an upcoming Pelvic Floor Yoga Foundation series that will be starting, so make sure that you're in the loop for that as well. And if you like the stories or the affirmations, they're in my book, Birth Wisdom Yoga Remedies and Journal, which can be found on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and also Books A Million. I'll see you next time.